going to start off with 3 novice tricks, and we're going to teach you how to teach your dog to do a spin, a twist and a handshake. You're either going to need a clicker or you're going to use a verbal marker. I'm actually going to use a verbal marker, and you're also going to need lots of tasty treats in bite-sized pieces. I prefer not to use shop bought treats unless they are natural. I like to make my own, or cut up my own, whether it's little bits of sweet potato, bits of banana, ham, deli meat, sausage, meatballs, so anything you want in bite-sized little pieces, and that's what you're going to use to reward your dog. So I'm going to show him what I want him to do, and when he does it, I'm going to mark that behaviour very precisely. Now I can either mark it with a click and then I reward, or I can mark it with a verbal word. And what I'm actually going to do today, because a lot of you won't have clickers, is I'm not going to use my clicker. I'm going to mark with a verbal marker, and that word is yes. So I don't want you to use anything like good boy or good girl, because they're things that you probably say all the time. So I'm explaining this very quickly because I want to get on with the tricks, but you're basically going to mark the behaviour with a yes. Okay, if you already have a clicker, then great, you can use your clicker. Okay, so how are we going to teach shake hands and give a paw? Now, what you're going to do is that you're going to take some food, in this case I've got some banana, and I'm going to put it in my closed hand. I'm going to put my hand out in front of Jambo, and he paws it. I'm going to mark by saying yes, and I'm going to reward. Okay, so make sure you're sitting opposite your dog. Don't hold your hand too high, because if you do, they're probably going to come up there. And don't hold it too low, because if you do, they're probably going to go down there. So, right in front of them, and you're going to lift it so that it's at the correct height for your dog's paw. Yes. And you're going to mark and quickly reward. By reward, I mean that you give them the food. And by mark, I mean that you're going to say yes, or whatever other word you've chosen. Yes. When they do the behaviour that you want. Now once you've done that a few times and they're targeting your hand really well with their paw, then you can do it without food. If they target with their nose and both paws, just wait it out, and I guarantee at some point they will hit precisely with the paw that you're wanting, and that's when you mark and reward. So just ignore what you don't want and reward what you do. So we'll do it once more with the food. Yes. And now what I'm going to do straight away is I'm going to close my hand as though I've got the food, but there isn't any. Yes. No food, straight into my bag, reward. Now, once you've done that several times, what you're going to do is just increase the criteria a little bit, and in this case we're going to increase the amount of time that his paw is on our hand for. Yes, not too long, just a little bit longer. And you're going to do that several times. Yes. Now obviously you can tell them good boy and good girl, but your mark word is the word that you've chosen to mark the behaviour. Okay? So good boy or good girl is just another reward, isn't it? Rather than a marker. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to turn our hand over. Yes. Notice I didn't ask him for any period of time there. We've added in the time the other way, but I've just changed the picture for him, and so I'm going to make it easier again. Yes. I can add in the time that his paw is in my hand, once he's got the idea that this, yes, is exactly the same as when my hand's the other way up. So now we'll add in a little bit more time. Yes. And you're going to repeat this several times. Jambo knows this behaviour, this is easy for him. But your dogs, if they don't know the behaviour, they might find it slightly more difficult. So you spend a little bit more time at each stage. I wouldn't expect them to learn it this quickly. Yes, good boy. And the last stage is that we're going to shake hands. So initially we're going to keep it really short, very quick shake. Yes. And then once your dog's used to it, and you've done that several times and they're comfortable with it, you can increase the criteria again by shaking for a bit longer. Now that Jambo knows how to do this behaviour, I'm going to add in the verbal cue. And the verbal cue for this I use is paw, but you could use shake hands. In fact, Jambo knows both. So I'm going to add it in first before I move my hand. A new cue comes before an old cue. Okay, Jambo. Jambo paw. Yes, good boy. And I'll just show you once more. So you're going to introduce the new cue before the old cue. Ready, Jambo? Jambo paw. Yes, good boy. And as you saw then, he offered me his paw before I put my hand out. Okay, there you go. And that is how you're going to teach your dog to shake hands or give you a paw. Do last paw. Jambo, shake hands. Yay, good boy. Right, now the next trick that we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to teach your dog to spin. So let me just demonstrate. Jambo, spin. Yes, good boy. So that was a 360-degree turn in an anti-clockwise direction. That's what I call a spin. So I'll just show you again. Yes, good boy. And that was the same. This time I used a hand signal rather than a verbal cue. How are you going to teach it? You're going to take some food and you're basically going to lure your dog round. By lure, I mean that your dog is going to follow the food in your hand. So if you want to practice a couple of times first, if you've never done this before, you can do. So take some food in your hand. We're not going to cover it up too much. We're going to make it really obvious for him that we've got this food. And we're just going to put it in front of his nose and then move our hand so that he follows it. Yes, I don't want him to follow it too far initially if he hasn't done it before. Yes. And I'm going to mark a reward and release the food. Teaching the spin. What you're going to do is you're going to stand in front of your dog, so your dog's going to be opposite you. You're going to take the food in your hand, and depending on your dog's height, if you've got a big dog, you're probably going to start up at your stomach. If you've got a little dog, you're probably going to be bending over and down at your knees. And you're going to do, sorry Jambo, you're going to do a big circle. So you can be from your mid-centre, wherever that is at the height of your dog's nose, and you're going to bring your right arm out and bring it round in an anti-clockwise direction back to your stomach. So, let's show you. Okay Jambo, sorry sweetheart. Jambo, sit and stand. You need your dog to be standing, so food at their nose height in your middle. Big circle. Yes. As soon as they're facing you again, you mark and you reward, you release that food. So I'll show you once more. Big circle, right back round, yes. As soon as he's back, you mark and you reward. Once they've done that several times, you're then going to get rid of the food lot. So you're going to do the same thing without the food. Let's see. Understand? Yes, good boy. Now, if they don't follow your hand, you can go back to using the food lot. So we'll show you again. Food lot? Yes. Very quickly do it without. Oops, sorry. Yes. Okay, and mark and reward. So a lot of the time, when you're getting rid of a food lot, you don't want a big gap between using it and not using it. Yes. And then you reward with the food. Okay? Once you've done that several times and your dog is spinning really well, that's it, really, you're there. What you can do is reduce the size of your cue, because this is in effect a cue. You can also introduce a verbal cue, so you can introduce the word spin. So, how do we introduce a new cue? We say it before we do the action. So I would ask Jambo to spin, and I would then do my old cue, and in this case the old cue is a big 360 with my hand in an anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, Jambo, stand. Jambo, spin. Yes. I put in the hand signal there for your sake actually, because he does know the cue spin. Your dog will quickly learn that when you say spin, you're then going to give that hand signal. And so what will happen is they preempt the hand signal and they learn the word spin. And that, in a nutshell, is how you're going to teach your dog to spin. Good luck. Right, so we just taught our dog to spin, and now we're going to do another novice trick, which you're going to find really easy actually, which is why I've added it in, because I can do it really quickly. You're going to teach your dog to twist. Now a twist is just a spin in the opposite direction, but don't think your dog will find this easy. It's a totally new behaviour. You're asking something of them totally different. You might think that spinning that way is the same as spinning that way, but I assure you it's not. What will happen though is that your dog will probably learn it quicker because they're already now used to following a food law and they've already done a spin, and so they're aware of what you're trying to teach them, okay? But you're still going to follow each step. So let's just demonstrate. Okay, Jambo. Jambo, stand. Jambo, twist. Yes, good boy. So you can see a twist is a 360, so full circle, but this time it's in a clockwise direction. So we'll do that once more, Jambo. You ready? Jambo, ready? Okay, Jambo, stand. Stand. Jambo, twist. Yes, good boy. So, how are we going to teach it? Well, we're going to teach it in exactly the same way as you taught the spin. So, I'm going to explain very quickly what you're going to do. You're going to take your food in your hand and you're going to lure your dog round. You're going to stand opposite them. You're going to have them stand in, although if they are sitting, they will quickly stand up to take the food. And this time, you're going to do a 360. You're going to use your right hand still, but you're going to come out in a clockwise direction. So let's show you. Yes. Keep the circle nice and big so that your dog doesn't struggle to get round. I'll show you again. So I take my food log, with my dog opposite me, and I'm going to start in my centre point. Big circle, clockwise direction. Yes, as soon as he comes round, I mark and reward. Once you've done that several times and your dog's doing it really, really well, you can then try it without the food law. So, nice big circle, yes, and mark and reward. Okay, so I'm going to show you once more. Yes, so if you had a little dog, that's the level that you would be at. Okay, and you mark and you reward. So we then reduce the size of the circle. So I'm going to get Jambo to stand. I'm going to do a smaller circle. Yes. Good boy. And once they've got that, you can then add in your cue. Remember, don't add in the cue until your dog knows the behaviour. In this case, the cue is twist. So I'm going to say, Jambo, twist. And then I'm going to give the cue. Yes. So those were your novice tricks. So have fun with that, and I hope to see you all take your part in the Pet Professional Guild Force-Free International Day of Force-Free Training, doing these tricks with your dog. So that's a spin and a twist and a shake hands. So Jambo, are you ready, Jambo? Jambo, come. Okay, Jambo, sit. Jambo, shake hands. Good boy. Jambo, spin. Good boy. Jambo, twist. Yes, good boy. Spin, twist, shake hands.